They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck.
Well, here we are. Everybody. Not sure when I started or when I didn't. Cho ain't here, so I'm having to be the producer. There's no producing. I just have to hit record and then find a way to get it to him later. But yeah, so I don't know what I'm doing, but there's Drew. What are you doing?
Buddy, I'm hanging out. I was thinking about you in your bit earlier about not being a real man. I have a issue with my Bronco. I've had it for a while. There's a thermostat problem. It took me a long time to find a thermostat, which I don't really feel like is a man thing. I think it's just a world thing currently because it's an old car. Got one. Didn't get a gasket for it because, anyway, point is, the car's been messed up for a while. Me and my father-in-law have been looking at it. My nephew, Zach, was going to help me work on it because I broke the head off a bolt. Me and him did, trying to fix it, which apparently is very common in an old car in a situation like this, that bolt's rusted in there.
Right.
So Zach was like, I'll get a 90-degree drill that we can fit down in here so we don't have to take the whole thing apart just to get to it, and I'll drill it out. I can't. So hold on a second.
All right.
For the record, here in a second, Trey's going to be like, I don't know what is going on here, but Corey probably won't watch the episode, so he's definitely not going to edit this out. And I was going to edit this out, the thing that's about to happen, but then Drew came back on and was like, actually, what just happened sort of makes, I'll tell you in a minute. And so now I kind of don't want to because it feels important. So just letting you know, Trey can blow me. All right. Later. Love you.
So anyway, I'm just going to talk softly into the microphone while he's doing that, so there's not dead air. Because Cho's definitely not going to edit any of this. Probably not even going to watch it, I imagine. So it's just going to be what it's going to be. So anyway, yeah, we back.
We are back.
All right.
Sorry. So where was I?
You broke a bolt off. And you
broke a bolt off.
Yeah.
Kind of what just happened makes this a little moot, but not really. I'll get to that. So, bolt breaks off. My nephew's going to get this 90-degree drill, but he's like working a lot. And also, I'm not even sure that'll work. I've been talking to my father-in-law about it, and he's like, he brought up welding a head onto the bolt, which is a thing I'd heard of before. Neither of us have the tools or the skills to do that because it's not a quick weld. Like for people who've welded a little, like to put a bolt on a head and to where it would hold when it's stuck.
Right.
Proper, like someone who knows what they're doing, right?
Of course, yeah. I mean, if you broke off the original bolt itself, if you're trying to fashion a new one together from parts of other bolts using welding, you got to know how to weld because that's going to break off.
Right. It's not like weld this on so it looks right. It's got to work.
Right.
So we're like, all right, but who would do that? Like my dad is a little probably more handier than Jim with a welder, but even he's like, tight space like that, I don't know. Maybe if we take it apart, but that's back to the original. So that's what's going on. Today, right before this podcast, he's like, hey, that guy who's going to weld it on will be here in a minute.
Right. You didn't know there was going to be. Yeah.
I was like, what guy?
Right.
And it was fine, but I go out there. It was so funny. I was like, oh, not only has my father-in-law emasculated me by doing the thing, he called the guy to do the thing. He brought another dad in.
Right.
To be my wife's dad. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not just like your father-in-law taking care of your wife, his daughter. It's like to the point where he's like, yeah, I had to get another dad in to take care of my daughter because me and you can't take care of her. And
right.
By the way, not even her vehicle.
Yeah, that's how deficient you are as a man. Well, sometimes you just got to call in. It's like in Pawn Stars or whatever. Got to get your buddy in there that knows about Mediterranean books from the 16th century or whatever. Every redneck dad's got a buddy that knows about confined spaces welding or, various other types of welding and that type of thing. Sometimes you need a specialist. This is a job for Randy here. This is a Randy job.
But I was like, oh, I gotta go work. And then as I was walking in the house, it was so funny to me. I was thinking, that dude showed up and was like, this is a nice Bronco, Jim. When'd you get it? And he's like, oh, it's my son-in-law's actually. He broke this bolt. He's podcasting.
Yeah, I know. Oh,
so we have to do this.
My father-in-law has taken 2 trips out here in the past 4 months, and one of those trips, my mother-in-law, his wife, came with him, and the other one it was just him, and then also Katie's sister. But anyway, he's been out here twice for a week each time or something. And I had this whole thing going through my head repeatedly because when I'm here, both of those times it was planned purposefully for a time when I was not on the road, right? Because
makes sense.
Okay, right. It does make sense. Families coming because again, it's not just him. It's members of her family, including their kids and all this. So it's they planned it for a time when I'm not on the road. Well, when I'm not on the road and I'm here during the day, everything that I do, work wise, is out here in this room where I'm currently sitting talking to you, right?
Right.
And I kept going back and forth between because he helped to renovate this room, basically, put the air conditioner. He knows exactly what is in this room and what is not. Do you know what I mean? Meaning he knows it's just a little something, totally alien to him setup with this this microphone and this weird shit and all this stuff, but not no man stuff, but I was torn the whole time between wanting to spend time out here during the day as much as possible. So it's clear that I'm doing stuff during the day, that I'm working or whatever, but that I have a job and I'm going to it. But then also being but even when I'm out here doing it, I know in his head, it's got to be what even is that? What is this? This is work. This is his job. What, I know they don't understand it, either one of them. And then it's but yeah, you can tell very, I guess, insecure about that whole, again, I had a whole bit about it. I've brought it up a million times, but yeah, when he's around, I think, dude, I was getting on the Peloton in the morning and I would only do classic rock rides and stuff. But again, I'm riding a stationary bicycle, the damage is done in all likelihood, but I couldn't do a whatever, an R&B or it had to be something, something. It's no, I'm riding a stationary bicycle to slow ride or, Foreigner, Foghat, stuff cool shit, not gay shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What are we? I'm a man.
I think about that type of stuff anytime he's around, perpetually. So yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, they're out. So they're out there working on your Bronco right now while you're sitting here doing this. In my head the whole time I'd be they ain't talking about nothing but me. That's all they're talking about the whole time they're out there. Right.
Let me say
how much I don't hit. So what is he doing in there again? A podcast about what?
Let me say 2 things. One, the podcast thing was so funny to me because it's just it's dramatic to say this, but it's not that much of a stretch to be America has changed a lot. And I'm not sure it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
If these hurricanes keep happening and the war keeps going on and eventually comes here, being able to get information out will be important, but not as important as welding.
Right. Yeah. I was about to say, yeah, because you got eventually to where I was at the whole time. I think about that too. I think about apocalypse come or whatever. I got nothing. I offer nothing.
I have some things, but they're not good.
Mm-hmm.
They're well, we won't die. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've had patrons and stuff tell me sometimes, and they'll say they're whatever, they're all liberal and stuff. They're you got these, why do you get so wrapped up in these whatever notions of masculinity and all this, and yada yada, all this other stuff. But it's some of that shit, it just is objectively a good thing to know, or would be. I'm also just astounded by it because it's it just seemed there was a long time where it's just every man just knew how to do that stuff pretty much. But I'm always like, how do you know? Because I didn't get like taught. Like I was with our buddy Caleb Simon was with me in San Antonio recently, and me and him were talking about this. And he was talking about his dad is like, he can just do anything, any kind of dad thing that ever comes up, plumbing, carpentry, engine,
they didn't teach us,
whatever. And and I was like, okay, yeah. And so do you know how to do those things? He was like, dude, I can't do a single bit of those things. I'm like, right. So like, why? Like you didn't get taught, right? So it's still hit. But why did they do that? Like
with my dad,
they passed it down every single generation, but then they just looked at us and were like, there's no point. Like I don't know.
My dad,
what happened? Like
my dad pretty openly with me. He wouldn't say like it's pointless or anything like that, but he was like, you're not going to be like me.
Yeah, I know.
You're going to have a better, easier life.
That was always my grandpa's stance on it too. Was he was like, no, you're going to be like, you're going to wear a tie to your job. You're going to work at a desk. But like, you're going to do all. You're not going to do this greasy shit. You'll pay somebody to do this for you. And I guess I get that, but I'm like, you have no idea how much of a bitch I am now, though.
That gets me back to what I was going to say a minute ago. Like, the podcast thing was so funny to me, but I genuinely thought then, and I definitely feel this about you. I mean, I'm living next door to him. This stranger who's welding the bolt on doesn't know why, doesn't know that's actually a huge sacrifice for me. I'm a hero.
Right.
Like your father-in-law it knows how much your house costs, sees the neighborhood it's in. There's no part of him. All that toxic stuff has to at least acknowledge that, even if it doesn't win out, even if there's like just another fucking rich prick who doesn't want to do it. It's like, but he is a rich prick, like there has to be that spot, that side of it of like, my brother-in-law was working here with his crew, and his friend, worker and friend that I talk to all the time, the one that I caught on tape, I told you that story, right?
Called him
Andy put her titties on the glass, and I was filming it because she was leaking milk, and it was funny. And he didn't see any of that, but in the video, you can hear him talking to Aaron in the background across the way, and he's going, "Do they even let kids play dodgeball anymore? Goddamn!"
No, but that's funny. So that you can hear that happening.
Yeah.
And it's a video of your wife's boobs leaking milk that you're making, and that's the background audio.
That's pretty great.
That does kind of sum you up.
It's one of the times I really wish I could share.
Yeah, right.
Boobs. But he like caught me. I don't know what other word to say it. He heard me doing a promo video down by the barn. I was dressed insane. He walked over there. Buddy, at first he looked like he caught me jacking off. He was like, oh, sorry.
Right.
But when he figured out what it was and I explained to him what I did, enamored. Talked to me every day.
Well, that's cool.
Why don't you put more on YouTube? I saw that one joke you did. That was pretty fun. I mean, this dude wears a Trump hat. He had to have found what I did and got some gist of it. At the same time, my recent stuff hasn't been super political. But what I'm saying is, I honestly was laughing at the juxtaposition. I thought about your bit, but I didn't feel any of that insecurity. I thought more like, I guess this was a little bit of insecurity. I just thought like, yeah, Jim knows I'm not ever fixing this vehicle.
Right.
If he don't do it. I just didn't think I thought he might make me make the phone call. And I was glad he didn't. I didn't want to make the phone call. Now, real quick, only related to the story, not related to the theme, related to this specific story. That was my mother-in-law who came to tell me they had to go to the doctor. The dude hadn't come yet. Jim forgot he had an appointment. Why they couldn't text me that?
Well, maybe don't that mean he's going to show up in a minute and you're going to have to like deal with him? Isn't that what that was supposed to be about?
I think so, yeah. But I'm not. But you know what? This does get back to our theme because they don't respect that this
is a thing.
Work.
Is a real thing. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Like you can just stop that any old time, right? I remember I remember one time I was at my in-laws' house and Katie's younger sister was there. And it was when one of my pilots was it's always Christmas time when you're coming down the nitty-gritty and going to see whether they're going to take it or not. So you're always doing shit around Christmas time, rewriting them and stuff. It was one of those years, one of those pilots. I don't remember which one, but I was sitting at my in-laws in Wayne County and I'm on my laptop and it's a script. I'm working to me is like clearly a script. Right. And I like felt her younger sister behind me for a second. And I like turned around and looked at, she like had this crazy, she was like, wait, are you doing like homework or something? And she's like, is that like a project? I don't understand. She was like, you're 34 or whatever I was at the time. And I was like, no, it's just part of my job. I'm a writer. This is a script. And you could just tell. She was like, even though I said that, it was very much just okay, whatever. I'm still going to have no concept of any of that. Yeah. Right.
See you later, queers.
But what you said about the guy being enamored, that's cool. Cause I do feel like you get that. If Cho was here, I'm sure he could give many examples of both since he's been in Chickamauga the whole time. But there definitely also is the other type too, I think, of the people that are like, what is all that? Like Thompson has told me before that he's run into some of the more rednecky dudes we went to school with out in the wild, and that they have said to him, they've said tons of stuff to him about me. But just whatever, calling me queer. What's up with your boy? What happened to Trae? That type of thing, which is always funny because it's like, I was queer back then too.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Jason Isbell sold out.
Right. But like the last time he ran into one of them, he said something like, I just can't believe that, smartest guy in our whole damn school, ended up being a comedian, like I was supposed to be. Again, it's that old, like my grandpa thought, you smart, you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or some kind of businessman or something. Yeah, right. And it's like, it's so weird because in my head, to me, I'm like, but this is cool. You don't think this is cool? But people don't. They don't think it's cool. A lot of people don't think it's cool at all. Dude, I've had fans of mine. I may have told this on here already, but it was this lovely middle-aged gay couple who clearly were well-to-do, as middle-aged gay couples are wont to be. And one of them ran into me and they drove in a couple hours to see me. We were staying at the same hotel. They saw each other at the front desk. And then me and one of them was in the elevator together. And he looked at me and with the most sincere, pity in his eyes, just the sadness he had as he looked at me. And he was like, he said something like, just always, he's like, because he had asked me, I was like, yeah, I'm here tonight, then Pittsburgh tomorrow night, and then somewhere else after that or whatever. And then he looked at me like that, and he was like, that must be a very hard life, or whatever. And I was like, no. I mean, this is I left a good job to do this. Because to me, it's unfathomable that people wouldn't understand that it's it's one of those type things. It's a pursue your dream type thing. And if you're doing it professionally, then obviously you feel at least pretty good about it, but a lot of people have no concept of that at all. And I could tell that this dude meant it. I could tell that he was I don't know, I was making which I do make sacrifices, but not the way that he meant, you know what I mean? But I could just tell he was like, God, you poor thing type of thing. And in my head, I'm like, what? This hits way harder than the DOE, but
other than maybe magician, and we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
We're just not. I mean, dude, even if you don't act in stuff
exactly
that they know of,
yes, exactly.
They almost are like, it's like that's the whole point though, right? Like Robert Williams got in movies. So if you haven't figured that out,
yeah,
why are you still doing it?
It's definitely what it is. Yeah.
And for me,
traditional show business stuff.
Right.
Then
and for me, this is all I've ever wanted to do. But then I ask them sometimes, I'll be like, well, I mean, what about Theo Vaughn?
I was going to bring him up too.
But then you could tell that they're like, oh yeah, that guy's cool. But only because he's I don't respect what he does. I just respect that he's famous.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's if you're not famous, and even you kind of are, and it's still people are like, ah.
Right. Yeah, I'm not on movie posters or just like you said, even in things. That's the thing. You could be in, I'm not, but you could be in things, but it's things that are not well known or that people have not seen. And that shit just don't count either. For that types of people we're talking about, most of the people in towns where we're from, it's you really do have to hit at a pretty legitimately high level for them to understand that you have hit at all in this field. And you said something it never even occurred to me. I don't think we talked about this, but you kind of mentioned it earlier and it's related to this. I'm not going to lie, dude. I hadn't thought about the fact that all these other people that just come by randomly, they're not in your life every day, but these denizens of Scott County or whatever, who you encounter and who know who you are and who your family are and stuff, they don't know the story. They don't know the full context of what you're doing there or why you're there or how you came to be there.
Yeah, they think I'm a failure.
And I'm not gonna lie, I think that would drive me insane because I would be thinking about that all the time too. If I would be like finding a way to tell everybody, like, just so you know, I chose this. I don't have to be. I could be anywhere, but I'm making sacrifices for my family and everything's fine. Like, I would just get into that. They'd be like, "We're at the dollar store checking out soon. What are you talking about?" Like, that's how I would.
I'm also not gone because I'm trying to be with the boy, and then I also, because of that, started taking contract legal work again. And yeah, it's funny you say that. I think I'm just now realizing that I think I started to just feel like I had failed. And it's weird. Like, LA was going slow, but it was going pretty well as far as this stuff goes, in terms of like the store was coming around. I had my own show there. My Don't Tell came out right after I left. I think I sort of have a manager at 3 Arts now that I got on my own by doing comedy, by emceeing what I do. So it's like, but here's the other thing, and we've talked about this. Actually, we haven't much, because and I say this out of respect, not like in a snotty way, because this is something you cannot relate to.
Right.
I have had an amount of success that was so incredible to me at 30, but is not enough to sustain my heart or my brain. Right. Like I don't need more for my ego. Like, I need more to justify all the stuff you're talking about. Yeah. And I just don't know if it's going to come, especially now that everything's on pause with the kid. Am I going to want to even push back into it? I'm saying that to say, yeah, it's odd to like be living next door to your in-laws and not. It's hard, I guess, sometimes maybe not to be like, I've actually sold a TV show one time.
Right.
Have you ever heard of MTV? And then an 18-year-old goes, no.
Right.
You know what I mean? Well, it's actually, I was on this company, Don't Tell. They're a lot like Comedy Central if you think about it, but you guys don't, because why?
No, I would be doing that type of shit all the time. I know I would, because I'd be. But it is funny. It's like in places like that, if you don't ever leave at all, that hits just fine for pretty much everybody, I feel like, because that's like culturally a very common thing to do. Like, pretty much every member of Katie's family lives within a 5-mile radius in Wayne County or whatever, except for her.
Which is fine.
It is fine. And they've got various jobs and stuff. But I'm saying, so living right by your in-laws in a town like that means nothing to no one. No one would bat an eye at it. But when you are one of the people who, left, like very pointedly left, and that's not your hometown, but still it counts. Andy's the one who left, whatever.
I wouldn't have been able to do my hometown, dog.
No, I mean, that's why I've always said that too. Like, there's no way I could live in my actual hometown. But yeah, even Wayne County would be tough. But there's that thing. I feel like people think, even before anything ever happens with you, the idea of, no, I'm getting the hell out of here, being one of those kids in a place like that, there's an element to the other ones, I feel like, of, you think you're better than us or too big for your britches type shit. So when you're one of those and you go and then you come back and now you're just doing what everybody else has been doing for 20 years or whatever, but now you're doing it after having that happen in that context. It's just the type of thing that I would think they're thinking about all the time, whether they are or not. That's what my brain would be telling me.
I think they all know that I went to law school, if they're keeping up with me. For most of them, they don't keep up with me. It's all in my head if I'm thinking it. I think they know I went to law school, so that's like whatever in their mind. Also, I'm gonna be honest, I don't get in that headspace a lot. I really don't. And I don't know if it's because I actually do think I'm better than, I don't know what, but when I am, if you're already in that headspace, it's easy to get out of it with the same toxic type of thought of like, look how hot my wife is. Mm-hmm. Here's pictures of me with Adam saying, like, if I've imagined a man throwing at me, look at this fucking failure over here. Then I'm like, all right, buddy, let's run the score.
Right.
Get your phone out. Let's see who's had a life worth living. And then I am being an asshole when I go down that path, which is, I guess, why I don't do it. It's like, if anyone's doing that to me, internally or externally, that's on them. Now, I think I told you guys a story when this happened. I came back a few years ago, and they happened to be honoring like Tiger legends, and they asked me to like go on the field or whatever. My cousin was like, who is very funny, was like roasting me before we all walked out there. Like, what'd you come back for, to vote? And I was like, yeah, 3 times, like that. Like, we were kind of, but then like later that week, I was like, man, he was really coming after me. And I was like, oh yeah, because they didn't honor him, which is so sad because I did not give a fuck about, what I mean? Like, I couldn't have cared less about the Tiger legends. Does that mean I do think I'm better than not my town or not everybody, but people who still give a shit about Tiger legends? I certainly think I'm different than them.
Right.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's a head trip.
Yeah, it is a head trip.
And it's a lot of sadness. And we don't need to get into it because it's not very entertaining.
Yeah.
It is humbling, but it's also been cool because, like, fuck, I got to get something done, and I have a 1-year-old. I'll just walk his ass next door where there is not just, like, somebody who will watch him, but somebody who, like, adores him.
Yeah.
And it will help their day. Like, it's not a burden to them. It's actually, here, does this help? Yes, it does. You know what I mean?
I never, like, me and Katie, the boys' entire lives never had that going on. And it's like a very standard thing. But people, I sure did always covet it, sort of. I didn't want to live right by her parents or nothing, but the idea of being able to do what you just said used to really hit for me. We're very near the point now where we can just leave these here,
right?
Because they're like teenagers, pretty much, just about.
Yeah,
so.
Is that a window, and then you have to stop again because now they're gonna fucking do drugs?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think I will stop, but I jokingly said that me and Katie went on a date or something recently and left them here for just a few hours, and I said something about not throwing a party, just like hitting, but she was like, Trae, what are you doing? Don't give them any ideas. I was like, any idea? I was like, Katie, I don't think we're anywhere close to that yet, but also I'm not going to say I don't care. This is already kind of happening a little bit where it's like Katie has found some messages and stuff that don't hit for her because they're like inappropriate, meaning it's just like Wayner stuff, Wayner talk, that type of thing. Just like, crass dick and balls sort of stuff that, by the way, from what she found, wasn't even like written by one of our boys, just in like a group chat they're in, some other kid, and they're laughing at it or hearting and that type of shit. But it's just like, she's like, I don't like all this. And I just told her, because me and Thompson have talked about this a ton. My older son is in fucking 7th grade now. The younger one's in 6th grade. And so, like, I just think about like me and Thompson and the rest of us. Really, for me, 6th grade is when it really, which is middle school. That's pretty common, I guess. But like for me, 6th grade was when it really popped off in terms of we became little fucking animals. Like when we were away, like the things we talked about, the things we liked and joked about, all that, we were filthy. And so I just think about that, and I tell Katie, I'm like, Katie, I think you're just gonna need to buckle up and get, and get rid, because this shit is just starting, and you ain't even ready for, what all this is about to be. But she's not. I don't think she's not equipped for it. She's only got sisters. She's a girl, obviously. She don't have those memories that I have. She don't know how 13-year-old boys. I mean, she was around them when she was a 13-year-old girl, but that ain't the same thing.
Thank God.
Do what? Yeah, right.
Thank God. I mean, that's all you can hope for, is that they do it with the boys and not the girls.
Right.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I don't want to get too gross, and I'm not trying to like put any thoughts in anyone's head about their kids or whatever. But like 7th grade, yeah, I mean, it ranged from like, for me and my classmates, it ranged from everything from like some people still seemingly had not hit puberty or certainly hadn't like changed into a monster, all the way to like some girls were dating and having sex with juniors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it was a different time. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, 7th grade, the 7th grade brain is quite capable of being quite crass or wild or whatever word you want to throw at it.
Yeah, very much so. So anyway, I don't even remember how I got into that from the whole, the party thing. It's like, so with that type of stuff, I'm not I find it a little weird. Of course, it's odd adjustment, but I'm not upset about any of it because I'm like, that's just the way things are. Again, I was a huge like dorky nerd kid, and I still was a filthy little monster. So like, I'm not that concerned with it, but Katie is, and I kind of feel a similar way about that type of thing. Like we threw. I think that people who are even within 5 years of me on either side and from Salina, I think almost universally they would back up what I'm about to say. Me, Thompson and Bain, Corey Barlow, and our friend group threw a like 90s teen sex comedy level house party at Bain's house on Labor Day weekend. It was a Labor Day party because his mom was out of town. Not Labor Day weekend party. It was like Saturday night of Labor Day weekend. His mom was out of town. And it was insane. And, you know, that really hit for us and still kind of does to this day. But when I think about it now, do you know what I mean? It was a big,
Nobody got pregnant.
No, I mean, there was some slightly scandalous shit that went on, of course, but it was like, yeah, just a legendary party, and parents got mad about it, but then let it go. And, you know, it just is what it is. It's like part of teenagerdom as far as I'm concerned. But of course, look, I mean, as a parent, you know, that type of shit, you can't just say that and leave it at that. I mean, we've talked before over the years, like my dad was very hands off, right? And it's like, I think that all that stuff is like natural and it's cool. It's part of what being a teenager is, and it's fun, whatever. But, you know, people do get pregnant. People do get hooked on drugs. Like things do happen. Like you have to keep an eye on it, but I'm not going to have to worry about that because I know Katie's going to be watching them like a fucking hawk. So no matter what I do, probably. So we'll just see how all that goes. But yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. I mean, I think about, I have these conversations with my nephews. I'm like sort of their go-to drug, sex, partying, all that. And it's gotten intense at times in very different ways with the two nephews, the oldest ones. They've had very different needs for intense conversations around the same themes, but it's like they're so different. They're having a different experience. And it's like, oh, they come to me because I'm their uncle. And that's true. But I also realized recently, like I was thinking about Rozzy growing up, and like, I doubt he'll be able to come to me. There's going to be a very different dynamic, but I kind of hope so. Like in my head, it was like, well, I'm the uncle. I don't have to react like a parent.
Sure. Yes.
But after a few of those conversations, I was like, this is how I would want to react to my kid, actually. Like, maybe it's true that being an uncle has allowed me the space to be this, I don't know, trusted, cool with them, whatever. Because anything they shouldn't have been doing, I'd tell them, you shouldn't be doing that. But I would tell them why. And it would be like, you know, danger or whatever the reasoning was. And then I was at the family reunion this weekend, and I saw a guy that I haven't seen in a long time. My dad wanted me to go to the family reunion. That's a thing that if you have kids, you got to do shit that you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. But I went to the family reunion, and I saw like a guy who was married to my dad's cousin, like, you know, but I knew him from sports growing up. He's around the community. I hadn't seen him in a while. And we got to talking, and he said something to me where he goes, it's different with my grandkids. They're more fun, but nobody tells you why. It's because when you're a parent, if your kid does something that you're embarrassed by, that's on you. You feel embarrassed. Mm-hmm. If my grandkid does something and somebody looks at them like I should be embarrassed, I will punch him in the face. He can do no wrong. I was like, that's funny. All right. But then I was thinking about that other stuff, and I was like, oh, like, yeah, I wonder if part of what happens, especially with younger parents, is like Jake and John are telling me these things. It's not a reflection on me.
Yeah.
I'm never like, and they don't feel it. There's no from them being like, sorry to disappoint you. They're not disappointing me. I didn't do it.
Right.
Anyway, I don't know. I was thinking about that.
That Papa you were talking to for a minute, I thought that was going to go in what was a very hilarious direction, because I thought he was about to say, you know, when you're a parent, your kid does something that's embarrassing like that is on you. When my son did some shit like that, that's on me, and that's hard. But now, if my grandson does something like that, that's on my dumbass son. See?
Yeah, I mean, you was kind of what you're saying.
But I don't get how that's not still then transitively on him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
Do it right.
like it should travel up the ladder, I would think, if that's how it always works. But
We could blame his ex because
Right.
this is his second wife. That's the beauty of that.
Yeah, which one? The papa or the
papa
son?
could blame his son being a dipshit dad on his ex-wife who I'm just
right. Gotcha.
I was continuing.
I thought you actually knew all this information. You are back there now, so it is how.
No, that is what he could have done. In real life too,
yeah. All right.
We had Roscoe's first birthday. It was rock and roll themed. Rossi was born, like Ozzy Osbourne. We got like all kinds of cool stuff made, and mostly just family came, obviously. But it was so wild. It's like you have these parties, and you're like, "Well, it's not for the kid; it's for the parents." And I was like, Andy, do we need to do that?
For sure.
And she was like, yes. And I was like, all right, it's for Andy.
Right.
But it was for everybody else. I was like, are people going to care? Like, are people into this? Buddy, the whole family showed up.
Mm-hmm.
They were getting in the floor with him. Rosie, look at my gift. It kind of blew me away. It was like another one of those moments, too, of me being like, am I autistic?
Right.
I don't get this at all, dude.
Yeah. About anybody else's baby, you're like, ugh. No, thank you.
Even my own, I want to spend time with him, but if I get him something and he don't like it, that's fine.
Yeah, right.
I don't give a single shit. You know why? Because he's a dumb baby.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but no, dude, people, family members, especially just everywhere, people just love babies. Babies hit for people. It's a fun new thing. You know what I mean? In the family. And
mine's beautiful. And everyone keeps telling me. And I'm like, I know. And it's like, he's so pretty that I'm starting to think it's going to be a problem. I really want him to ugly up just a tiny amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know how, like, really, really pretty people struggle at some point when they have to, when like things, if and when things stop happening for them. You don't remember that girl who was like smoking hot and then something happened and it was like she had no skills to deal with it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like I went through that with like intelligence, but because I'm from Salina and I was like the smartest kid there. But
that's what my mom said to me when I said this to her. I had this conversation with my mom yesterday, and she said, "Well, didn't you feel like you went through that some?" And I was like, honestly, Mom, I was smart enough to know that I wasn't that smart, in spite of what y'all were telling me.
I was not. No, that shit. I had a quarter life crisis big time because of exactly that. Because I crushed it all through college too, like breezed through, no problem. Yep. Graduated 4.0 with ease.
Even grad school? Because I didn't breeze through grad school.
Even grad school, but you went to law school.
I knew I should have got an MBA.
Yeah, right. You went to law school. It's and that's what I'm saying. So I got all through undergrad, grad school, and everything. Just fucking did it in my sleep, pretty much. So still thought that thought that way about and then fast forward to 2 years out of college or later or whatever, I was like, I don't really hit that hard. I'm not like special like I thought I was or whatever. And I think with really pretty people, a lot of them, I feel like there's some of them that don't ever even really hit that though, depending on how their life pans
you
out.
Marry the right way or what, or if you're a man, you just kind of end up in a whatever job that allows you to be charming. That's a good point. But
also he's going to be like pretty, and a lot of athletes are pretty. They tend to go hand in hand genetically, not always, but often. But also probably smart. Like he's going to be the total package is what I'm saying.
No, I don't. I mean, I'm not saying he's not going to be good looking, but I really think he looks more like me every day. And I'm like, all right, you're going to be standard good looking, not affects your personality good looking.
Right.
And I also hope that he's not, that he's standard smart. And we're not going to live here. We're going to live in a place where being standard smart is recognized for what it is, which is like, that's fine. But that little Indian kid over there in the fourth grade can do that without a calculator.
It's exactly how it is here.
And the athlete thing, there's going to be black kids around. I really think that I'm going to put Roscoe in a position to succeed in life, to make him think he's average. And then when he gets out in the world, he's going to be like, oh, I'm not at all. I'm actually well above average. I just have to apply myself. That's my whole goal.
Yeah, I've been trying. I'm in the middle of trying to come up with a new hour, so I'm just trying out so much new shit. Some of it's been going well, some of it is not. I tried to get into a lot of it's been about school, just because that's where I started. Was talking about it. my school and schools in general, and I just kept having ideas, and plenty of them have not been great. But like one of them was about what we've just been talking about. Like I'm trying to talk about the whole being in gifted and how gifted was really special ed, like bringing back a version of that, a much abbreviated version of that. And then going from that into like how that fucks you up, being a gifted kid. But me doing it, I'm like, I'd say a gifted kid, especially if you don't have money, you know what I mean? But it gets real. It just gets real one man showy real fast.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, I get like, people are like clap and shit at certain part, and there's like some lines, some good laughs and stuff, but that's the type of thing I'm just not really okay with generally, unless that's what I'm setting out to do. You know what I mean? It's just say something that people are like, that's a great point or an astute observation or whatever.
Yeah.
Telling it like it is up there. It's okay I'm totally all right with people thinking he's telling it like it is up there, as long as they're like involuntarily laughing while I'm doing it instead of just thinking that and clapping or whatever. So that's what I've been running into with that whole shit. Cause then I go from that into like student loans and how, again, like there's like little bits of things that are funny throughout where it's like, yeah, I was a gifted kid, but I'm poor white trash. And, some things just don't transfer, like about how, true story, my first week at college, I signed up for 3 high interest credit cards in exchange for 3 medium 1-topping pizzas at Domino's, right? It's a real thing that I did. And so like stuff like that, there's like funny shit in there, but then it ends up with me being like,
I'm going to change the world.
Well, just be like a professor yeah, right. Exactly. Thinking I was a genius in doing that. And that's who I was, and I always say I thought I was Goodwill Hunting. I also tried a little chunk on Goodwill Hunting that I was excited. In my head, that movie's iconic and everyone knows it. Maybe it is, and that wasn't the problem at all. Maybe the problem is it just wasn't that good. But I tried to I was making fun of myself about how that movie meant so much to me and was so aspirational, but kind of like we were talking about a minute ago. But I looked like a dark-haired Bobby Hill or whatever, and he was prime Matt Damon, getting girls and just rocking shit, and I was just a chubby little dork. And also the outsized opinion of my own intellect, like that scene where he owns that dude in the bar by talking about books he's read, right? Loved that. But what's so stupid about that is that in that scene he's talking about like philosophers and historians and shit like that, those books by and for intellectuals. And I love to read, but it was like John Grisham books and stuff. Do you know what I mean? But it's like that still was like nerdy in my school. Like that still counted. Like, oh, I'm always reading books and stuff. But it was A Time to Kill and The Rainmaker, Stephen King, Jurassic Park, nothing like that. I couldn't quote like smart stuff, and still can't. Never had been able to.
This might be a grass greener thing, but I almost feel like your ignorance was at least more fun for a longer amount of time. Whenever it was that you got humbled, you had all the years before that, dude. I got humbled like sophomore year, literally by a 4th grade Indian. Like, I didn't just say that because I'm racist and was like, who's smart? Indian kids. Literally a group of 4th and 5th graders whose dads were PhDs over in Oak Ridge.
Yeah, right.
Mopped the floor with me at an academic competition. And I was like, oh, right. Because, like, I'm smart for where I'm from.
Yeah.
Just like I'm, like, woke for where I'm from, or athletic for where I'm from, or have nice teeth for where I'm from, or have money for where I'm from. I didn't have money, but, like, we were middle class, and we weren't when we left the county line.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I've had bits about that. The whole, so you had some like perspective on it. I'm saying, because it wasn't just the intelligence thing. It was so many things about
AAU basketball.
I never knew so many things. I did, I used to have that bit forever ago about realizing that I was white trash because in Salina everyone was poor or whatever, and like that shit was all true. Like I did not realize what I really was or the background I really came from or whatever until I left and got out of there and saw. I mean, like even after college, when I got the job at the DOE and met the other people, I got hired as part of a Recovery Act program. So they hired a bunch of fresh out of college people at the same, like a whole bunch of us. And in my division alone was me and Bryce and then 7 or 8 other people. Rest in peace, producer Bryce. Yes. But and I met all these people, and they would do all these onboarding things. You know, you all go out to the lab at the same day. You get tours together. You take classes together. You do all this stuff with all these other new hires that are also my exact same age. They're fresh out of college, and they're from all over the country coming to work for the Department of Energy or whatever. And I remember, even though I shouldn't have been, still being very, like, gradually realizing that, oh, none of these people are even remotely like me, meaning like, you know, trashy at all. Like all their parents are together. They're all, you know, they're like,
well, you are an anomaly.
I know. I'm saying,
I
know that now. I did not know that.
But that could have, if you'd have known it then, that could have fed into the Goodwill Hunting stuff too. Though that's the thing, is like, it's like realizing that you are unique and special, but just not framed as what you thought it was. And that's why I was saying maybe you're lucky. Like, it's a grass is greener thing, but I'm a little jealous because I think I went the other way. I think I like convinced myself, no, I'm not special. And then I just kept floating through life until law school beat me down. And then I was like, see, just like I thought.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I can't not do any work and make A's. It's like, well, of course not. But that doesn't mean, like, why? No one thought that. That's not what your teachers were trying to tell you at all, you fucking dipshit.
Right.
But anyway, that's just my perspective. I wanted to say, I remember the two names, JaMychal Blair. I think I was 11 or 12 years old, maybe 10. And this dude dunked a basketball on
at the
me.
Same age as you?
Yeah. On me.
Jesus.
It might have been on a 9-foot goal if we were 9 or 10. Dunked it on me. And I remember being like, oh, I'm not going to the NBA.
Right. I think every white kid who's a good athlete from a town like ours has a moment. I think Shane Gillis has a bit about that on his Netflix special, I think. But with him in football, thinking the same thing. Maybe it was AAU basketball, whatever. Basically the exact same experience. He shows up and he saw some 12-year-old dunk or something. He's like, oh, well, never mind. Obviously, this is
Well, then I remember being like, well, okay, but like Steve Nash or like work hard, like be a point guard. And then the other name, this is when I was 14, and I'll never forget this. We played Lee Humphrey's team, a 2-time national title winner under Billy Donovan at Florida. He was the 5th person on that team who didn't go to the league. 4 of their 5 starters went to the league and had pretty illustrious careers, everything from all-star to like good role player. Lee played in Greece. He was the shooter. Played against Lee at 14. My team was the best in East Tennessee, and we beat him like 80-50. But he had 40 of their 50. And I remember then it was like the second wave of like, I'm not even going to go D1, dude. Right. What was that?
Right.
What was that? He was so strong and so fast. And JaMychal was dunking on him. And again, I'm not being racist. Literally, his name was JaMychal.
Yeah, that's something too. I was never good at sports, but like my best friend Thompson was like the best athlete in our school probably. And I thought the same thing about him athletically back then, because I didn't realize that either. I mean, I remember even having a conversation with you after we met. So I'm like 25 at this time and then been out of college. It was about Thompson. I think Thompson still listens every now and then. Sorry if this is weird, Thompson. I apologize. But I just got a little drunk and I was bragging on you if you're listening, because I told you once, Drew, at like Side Splitters, I think you were talking about high school football or something. And I started talking about how like Thompson's measurables, like his like combine numbers or whatever you want to call them, like just, you know, bench pressing, 40-yard dash, the vertical, all those types of things were just in like D1 level good is how I put it, which like on just purely on paper, like they literally were like, they were like that type of measurables or whatever. And I remember you being like, I don't remember exactly how you put it. You were like, yeah, but I mean, you know, like still doesn't, I mean, it doesn't matter, right? You guys were in Salina. Like it's not there. Cause I was trying to make the case. I was like, if we hadn't been in Salina, if we'd been in a bigger school, who knows? He could have played for the Vols or something. And you were like, probably not. And you hadn't even met Thompson at the time, but I didn't know your background of your experience with it.
That sounded like a real dick.
No, you were just very quickly like, you were like, probably not, dude.
I probably was like, what did he weigh? How much did he weigh?
Yeah, he was like 6'1", 215 or something like that. But even, you know, 6'1",
No, that's pretty good.
It's like a safety, like
Yeah.
at that level. He had like safety size and speed and stuff. But what he wasn't doing, again, Thompson, sorry if it's not like you don't know this. Those guys that end up at those schools, I feel like at every level they're at before that, when they're in Pee Wee and then they're at high school and they're like doing Lee Humphrey shit the way you just described it. Yeah, like it's absurd. Like no one else on either team is even close to them in every single game they ever play. And Thompson was like one of the best players on our team, but it wasn't like that. It wasn't like everybody on the field was like, that dude is on a whole other level than everyone else, which is how those types of players are, until they finally reach whatever their level is, whether that be your buddy from law school to Iowa dude, or the Midwestern dude, big corn-fed feller. He played,
Micah?
No, not Micah, a different guy. He played college football, I think, or was going to, and then stopped because I talked to him about and he's a pretty big dude. He was going to be an O-line. Yeah, Rich, yeah.
He's Micah's buddy who they played football together in undergrad. He went to law school, but not mine. That's very funny. It's great when people are just like, yeah, it's your law school buddy. He would think that.
I feel like I talked to him for like over an hour at a bar one night after one of our shows
Chicago.
Or something. So I definitely thought that was why or how else would I be talking to this dude if he wasn't your
I met him through my law school friends. I'm saying I think it would hit for him that you think that.
Yeah, and he had a similar experience too, right? So I guess he played in college, but in like at
Chicago.
Yeah, but he had gone to some camp at some bigger school or something and said he knew within being there for an hour, like after he showed up, he was like, well, this ain't happening. Because it's just that apparent, but that's weird. It's weird how that works.
It is weird how that works. I mean, well, it's just like in sports and any type of academic pursuit early on when you're talking about tests, like standardized tests, you do well and you keep elevating until you're no longer dominant, and then that's where you stay. With other things in life, though, that's not how it works.
Right, that's true.
Like there's so many people who aren't better than other people who get elevated further for various reasons. It happens in entertainment. I'm certain it happens in like the corporate world all the time. There's a whole trend on TikTok of people making jokes about someone called the fun hire, which is like someone who's just there to make the vibes good in the office.
Right.
And it's like that. I wish I'd have known about that. Because I think I'd have been a little bit more sniffing my own farts a little. I'd have been like, well, I can figure that out, but I'm not going to be in the NBA.
Yeah, well, I don't know that one. As a lawyer, I don't know if it's like this, but for me, when I went to work for the federal government in a business capacity, like a desk job thing, that was another wild realization for me that I think a lot of people have when they get out of college and go to the adult world, is like gradually at some point looking around and being like, oh, almost nobody really knows what they're doing. Like you show up out of college or whatever, and you're like, I don't know in your head, you're like, I don't know what I'm fucking doing. I can't let anybody find out that I don't know what I'm doing, because they'll like get rid of me, obviously. But then gradually you realize you're like, that motherfucker don't know what he's doing. And he's been here for 20 years, especially with the government, dude. And that's also, illuminating and, reassuring in a way, but also kind of, disappointing isn't the right word, but it's just like, I don't know. It's like finding out things that you think matter don't matter, basically, as you get older.
I find it disheartening, but again, that's another example of, I go back to like, am I autistic? I really thought comedy was the closest thing to a meritocracy in entertainment.
I did too.
And I think it is closer to being a meritocracy than some other things. Like when you hear about like auto-tune or whatever, there's no version of that in comedy.
Right.
But you and I have been in it long enough to know, but there's something not quite as stark or obvious. There's stuff like that happening all the time. And there's also people who, in my opinion, deserve some credit for getting to where they've gotten, but they aren't great at what they're known for being great at. I don't know if that makes sense. Let me say, I'll give somebody an example. I don't mind. I don't even feel like I'm shit talking the guy. Andrew Schultz is far and away the most successful comic of our generation in terms of live ticket sales. He sold out Madison Square Garden. I don't even think he would blink if someone showed him a clip of me going, he is not even one of the 5 funniest comedians of our generation. Now, I'm not saying he's not funny. I'm not. I'm saying that he is funny, and then he is the best at another thing, which I think is marketing, but I'm not sure. I don't even know what it is. So, yeah, like
I've heard Bert Kreischer say that exact thing about himself a million times before about how like he's like I sell more tickets and I'm like top 5 ticket sales period. He's like, that's ridiculous. I should not be. He was like, in terms of, comedically, like I'm not up there. But you said maybe it's marketing. I've always thought Bert definitely excels at that. But it's also, you said the fun hire thing. Like he's got a, he got a thing.
His comedy's fun hire.
He's a fun guy. I mean, I love.
Well, I think relatability is how you get rich. I really do. I think that, being funny is how you get in front of people. And then I think relatability is how you get rich. And being able to do both is truly special. I mean, and that's why we for years were like, why is Leanne Morgan not the biggest thing ever? And now she's so big, like my other part of my brain's turning on. I'm like, all right, slow it down a little bit. She's that big. She's great. Truly. Yeah. Well, I got to go. Brian's on his way. We're going to go to the gym and pretend that we're 30 again, I guess. We've been working out. That's been a thing that's nice. Brian works in this town that I'm living in, so I see him almost every day.
Y'all got a gym there, or are you like using your old high school gym? The old coach.
We have 2 gyms in the county, dude.
No shit. All right. Well,
big time.
Big time. Well, you got anything to tell people?
Yeah, I got a few things to tell people. I have a post. Trae shared a video that alludes to the post. I have a post on my Instagram, Facebook about it links to a document that where if you're wondering where to donate for Hurricane Helene victims, where to volunteer. If you have somebody up there and they're seeking shelter, it's got a list of that. It's a spreadsheet. It's pretty easy to navigate. I'm a pretty huge proponent of donate to mutual aid groups. Send your stuff to churches and let them take the generators up. And some people got on to me. They're like, I'm not giving nothing to a church. There's a very specific reason I said that I left out of my video, which is that FEMA can't take anything from a church. They absolutely can take stuff from you, not from your car. But if you go up there and you're like, oh, here's a pile of stuff. I want this to go to this community. And you set it down. FEMA has the jurisdiction to go, actually, we don't need generators here. I'm taking these to North Carolina. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I do think they're taking them to North Carolina. But if you wanted them to put them in Tennessee, you don't want that to happen. My point is, I'm sorry, I'm on a tangent. Donate locally. I wanted to say that. I wanted to say that I'm going to be in Chattanooga headlining the Lookout Comedy Festival on Friday, October the 18th. That's what day Friday is. I'm going to be in Bristol November 8th and 9th. And I'm going to be in St. Augustine, Florida, November 23rd, and I'm going to be with WellRED in December. And those are my only shows of the year, guys, because I'm a dad. So come out and support.
All right, make it a hit. Yeah, come see me. I got a weird little Southwestern run coming up. I only say weird because it's just, I don't know. You tell me. It's Durango, Colorado, Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Flagstaff, Arizona. So looking forward to that. But fun little jaunt through the deserts and mountains of that part of the country. Looking forward to it. That's next week.
I hope you're driving. That's a rad drive.
I am driving. Yeah. Well, I'm riding, but we are driving. And where am I at after that? Appleton, Wisconsin. Then I got Frederick, Maryland, Philly, and Newark. And then a bunch of other stuff. And then, him and Cho will be at Zany's in December like we always are. So just go to TraeCrowder.com and check out all them dates and come see me. I appreciate it. And with that said, thank you all for listening to the WellRED Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you. God bless you. Good night and skew.
I'm running a little late. I want to go.